The gentle buzz of San Francisco's financial district provided a rhythmic backdrop to the gleaming skyscrapers that pierced the fog-laden sky. Among the sea of tailored suits and urgent strides, Emily Watson moved with quiet purpose, her simple black cotton dress and minimal jewelry a stark contrast to the designer labels flaunted around her. At 42, she carried herself with a dignified grace that spoke of inner confidence rather than external validation. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, her face adorned only with a light touch of tinted moisturizer, a conscious decision rather than an oversight. The vintage Patek Philippe watch on her wrist, a family heirloom passed down from her grandmother, was her only indication of wealth, as though few would recognize its six-figure value unless they were collectors themselves. Like Emily, its true worth wasn't immediately apparent to casual observers. She checked the time as she approached the Azure, San Francisco's most exclusive restaurant, nestled on the top floor of the Meridian Tower. After weeks of working 18-hour days to finalize the acquisition of their largest competitor, she was looking forward to a quiet dinner with Michael before tomorrow's board meeting where the deal would be officially announced. Michael insisted we celebrate somewhere special, she murmured to herself, a small smile playing at her lips. Though I would have been just as happy with takeout at home? That was Emily, practical, understated, and completely at odds with what one might expect from the founder and CEO of Phoenix Technologies, one of the fastest-growing AI companies in the world. Few knew her face. Fewer still connected it with the technological empire she had built from the ground up. She preferred it that way, operating in relative anonymity while her innovations transformed industries. The private elevator to the Azure required a special key card, which Emily produced from her simple leather handbag, another quality piece that whispered rather than shouted its craftsmanship. As the elevator ascended, she mentally reviewed tomorrow's presentation. The acquisition would position Phoenix to revolutionize healthcare AI, potentially saving millions of lives. It was the culmination of a dream she'd had since founding the company 15 years ago in her Stanford dorm room. The doors opened to reveal the Azure's elegant foyer, a study in sleek minimalism with floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views of the bay. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the marble floors, while a subtle scent of rare orchids perfumed the air. At the hostess stand, Camille Reynolds, tall, blonde, and impeccably styled in a designer dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, greeted newcomers with practiced charm. Her discerning gaze assessed each arrival, mentally cataloging their worth based on visible signals of affluence. Emily approached with a quiet smile. "Good evening. I have a reservation for 2 under Watson. My husband should be arriving shortly." Camille's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose slightly as she took in Emily's unassuming appearance, her gaze lingering on the simple dress and practical shoes before returning to her tablet. Her crimson lips curved into what might generously be called a smile, though it didn't reach her ice-blue eyes. "I'm sorry, but I don't see a reservation under that name," she said, her tone simultaneously apologetic and dismissive. "Are you certain you have the correct restaurant? Perhaps you're looking for the Bayside Bistro. It's quite popular and just a few blocks away." The suggestion was clear. The Bayside Bistro was fine dining, but several tiers below the Azure's exclusivity and price point. A restaurant where someone like Emily, at least as Camille perceived her, would be more at home. "I'm certain it's here," Emily replied calmly, accustomed to such assumptions after years of being underestimated. "Michael made the reservation personally. Would you mind checking again?" "Watson, party of 2, 800 p.m. Camille's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. "One moment." She made a show of carefully examining her tablet again, her manicured fingernails tapping the screen with deliberate precision. "I'm afraid there's nothing under that name. The Azure is fully booked tonight, as we are most evenings. Without a reservation, it would be impossible to accommodate you." Before Emily could respond, a distinguished-looking couple approached the hostess stand. The woman was draped in what was unmistakably a Channel dress with a statement diamond necklace, while the man wore a custom Tom Ford suit. Camille's demeanor transformed instantly, her face lighting up with genuine warmth. "Mr. and Mrs. Blackwell, how wonderful to see you again. Your usual table is ready, of course. Pierre will be your server tonight. He's prepared that special champagne you enjoyed last time." The woman glanced at Emily with barely concealed curiosity, taking in her simple attire, before exchanging a knowing look with her husband. They were escorted into the dining room immediately, leaving Emily still standing at the hostess station. "As I was saying," Camille continued, her voice now carrying a hint of impatience, "without a reservation I simply cannot seat you. Especially," she paused, her gaze once again sweeping over Emily's modest appearance. "Given our dress code." Emily's cheeks warmed slightly, but her expression remained composed. "I understand you have standards to maintain, But I assure you, my husband confirmed our reservation yesterday. Perhaps it's under his name, Michael Bennett. Bennett. A flicker of recognition passed across Camille's face, quickly replaced by skepticism. Michael Bennett, the Director of Public Relations for Phoenix Technologies. Yes, that's correct. Camille's lips pressed into a thin line. Watson, Emily supplied.
Emily Watson.
Watson? Camille continued, her tone now one of exaggerated patience. Mr. Bennett does indeed have a standing reservation with us for business meetings, but I can assure you it wasn't confirmed for tonight, and even if it were, she hesitated, clearly struggling to find a diplomatic way to suggest that Emily didn't belong there. A well-dressed businessman seated at the bar had been observing the exchange with growing interest. He approached the hostess stand, whiskey in hand, his expensive cologne announcing his presence before he spoke. "Is there a problem here, Camille?" he asked, his voice carrying the smooth confidence of someone accustomed to authority. "Not at all, Mr. Harrington," Camille replied, visibly relieved by the interruption. "Just a small misunderstanding about reservations." James Harrington, CEO of Harrington Investments and a regular at the Azure, assessed Emily with a cursory glance before dismissing her as unimportant. "Well, if you need the space, I'd be happy to have this young lady join me for dinner." His smile didn't reach his eyes as he addressed Emily directly. "I always enjoy meeting new people, especially those who appreciate fine dining." The condescension in his tone was unmistakable. Emily recognized the type immediately, men who viewed dinner invitations as transactions, expecting gratitude for their generosity. "That's very kind," Emily replied with cool politeness, "but I'll wait for my husband." Harrington's expression hardened slightly at the rejections. "Suit yourself, though I imagine the bar at the Bayside Bistro might be more accommodating." With a knowing nod to Camille, he returned to his seat. The restaurant manager, Gerald Porter, a distinguished man with silver hair and impeccable posture, approached from the dining room. "Is everything all right, Camille? This woman insists she has a reservation, but there's nothing in the system," Camille explained, her tone suggesting this was a common occurrence with delusional walk-ins. Porter turned to Emily, his expression professionally neutral. "I'm the manager. Perhaps I can help resolve this situation. I have a reservation under Watson or possibly Bennett," Emily explained calmly. "My husband confirmed it yesterday." Porter consulted the tablet, frowning slightly. "I don't see either name here. The Azure is an exclusive establishment, madam. We simply cannot accommodate walk-ins, especially on a night like tonight when we have several VIPs in attendance." Emily was about to respond when she felt her phone vibrate. She glanced at the screen to see a message from Michael, running 10 minutes late. "Meeting with PR team about tomorrow's announcement ran long. Can't wait to celebrate with you." She looked up at Porter. "My husband is on his way. He'll be here shortly and can sort this out." Porter exchanged a glance with Camille, their silent communication speaking volumes. "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable waiting outside," he suggested, his tone making it clear this wasn't really a suggestion. "Our lounge area is reserved for guests with confirmed reservations." A couple entering the restaurant slowed to observe the exchange, the woman whispering something to her companion that made them both smile condescendingly. Emily felt the weight of their judgment, the immediate dismissal based on nothing more than her appearance. "I'm happy to wait by the elevator," Emily conceded, recognizing the futility of arguing further. She had built a multi-billion-dollar company from nothing, revolutionized artificial intelligence, and was about to announce the biggest acquisition in her industry's history. Yet here she stood, deemed unworthy of even waiting in the lounge of a restaurant. As she moved toward the elevator bank, Camille's voice carried clearly across the foyer. "It happens at least once a week. People thinking they can just walk in without a reservation or the proper attire. Some even make up stories about knowing important people." The couple laughed appreciatively at this insider commentary. Emily kept her back straight and her pace measured, refusing to show any reaction. She had faced far worse in building her company. This was merely another reminder of how appearances shape perceptions. She checked her watch again. Michael would arrive soon and this minor unpleasantness would be resolved. Still, it stung to be so casually dismissed, to have her presence deemed inappropriate based solely on surface judgments. The elevator chimed, drawing Emily's attention. The doors slid open to reveal Michael Bennett, her husband of 12 years. At 45, he cut an impressive figure in his tailored navy suit, his confident posture and easy smile immediately commanding attention. Though his designer watch and custom-made shoes quietly signaled affluence, it was his presence rather than his possessions that marked him as someone of significance. Unlike Emily, Michael was the public face of Phoenix Technologies, handling media relations and public appearances, while she focused on innovation and strategy behind the scenes. The arrangement suited them both. Michael thrived in the spotlight, while Emily preferred to let her work speak for itself. His face lit up at the sight of her, his warm brown eyes crinkling at the corners in the way that still made her heart skip after all these years. Then his expression shifted to confusion as he took in her position near the elevator, away from the restaurant entrance. What are you doing out here?" he asked, closing the distance between them with quick strides. "Apparently, I don't have a reservation," she replied with a small smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Or perhaps I don't meet the dress code." It wasn't entirely clear. Michael's brow furrowed. "That's ridiculous. I confirmed personally with the owner yesterday." He placed a gentle hand at the small of her back, guiding her toward the hostess stand. "Let's sort this out." As they approached, Emily noticed an immediate shift in Camille's demeanor. Her posture straightened, and her professional smile reappeared, this time with genuine warmth. "Mr. Bennett, how wonderful to see you again," she gushed, her entire manner transformed. "I apologize for the confusion earlier. Your table is ready, of course." Michael paused, glancing between Camille and Emily. "There seems to have been some misunderstanding. This is my wife, Emily Watson." "Your wife?" Camille's smile faltered slightly, her gaze darting to Emily with new uncertainty. "Yes, we're celebrating tonight," Michael continued, his tone pleasant, but with a firmness that suggested he was fully aware of what had transpired. "I specifically requested our usual corner table with a view of the Bay Bridge." Camille's complexion had paled noticeably. "Of course, Mr. Bennett, right away." I'm not sure how the confusion happened." She was already reaching for menus, her movements suddenly flustered. Porter, the manager, had materialized beside them, his expression now solicitous. "Mr. Bennett, always a pleasure. Please allow me to escort you and Mrs. Bennett to your table personally." "It's Ms. Watson, actually," Emily corrected quietly. "I kept my name professionally." "Of course, Ms. Watson. My sincere apologies." Porter's demeanor had completely transformed, his earlier dismissiveness replaced with deferential respect. "May I offer you complimentary champagne to begin your evening?" As they were led through the elegant dining room, Emily was acutely aware of the curious glances from other patrons. James Harrington nearly choked on his whiskey when he saw her walk by with Michael, his expression a mixture of shock and chagrin. The corner table was indeed perfect, offering privacy and a spectacular view of the city lights reflecting off the bay. Once they were seated and the champagne had been poured with elaborate ceremony, Michael reached across the table to take Emily's hand. "I gather from your position by the elevator that your welcome wasn't exactly warm," he said, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her palm. Emily smiled ruefully. "Let's just say that without you, I apparently don't meet the jure's exacting standards." Michael's expression darkened. "That's unacceptable, Em. You're the founder and CEO of Phoenix Technologies, for God's sake. If they knew who you were—" "But that's just it," she interrupted gently. "They shouldn't need to know who I am to treat me with basic courtesy and respect." Michael sighed, acknowledging the truth in her words. "You're right, of course. It's just infuriating. You've never been interested in flaunting your success, and this is how people respond, by judging a book by its cover. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last." Emily replied with the pragmatism that had carried her through countless professional obstacles. "Though I admit, it's been a while since I was so thoroughly dismissed to my face." A new voice joined their conversation, smooth, cultured, and ingratiating. "Mr. Bennett, Miss Watson, what an unexpected pleasure." They looked up to find James Harrington standing beside their table, his earlier condescension replaced with an obsequious smile. "I had no idea you were joining us tonight. Forgive my earlier forwardness. Had I known you were Mr. Bennett's wife, it wouldn't have changed who I am." Emily interjected calmly. "Just your perception of my worth." Harrington faltered, clearly unused to such direct responses. Well, yes, of course. Nevertheless, I hope you'll both join me for a drink later. I've been meaning to discuss potential investment opportunities with Phoenix Technologies." "We're celebrating privately tonight," Michael replied, his tone making it clear the conversation was over. "Perhaps you can contact my office next week." With a stiff nod, Harrington retreated to his own table, where he immediately began speaking in hushed tones to his companions, who all cast furtive glances in Emily and Michael's direction. "That's the third investment offer this month," Emily noted after he had gone. "Word must be leaking about the acquisition. The rumor mill never stops," Michael agreed. "But today isn't about business. It's about celebrating what you've accomplished. Tomorrow, you'll announce the biggest deal in Phoenix's history, a deal that will fundamentally change healthcare AI for the better." He raised his champagne glass to the most brilliant, visionary, and humble CEO in the tech industry. Emily smiled, clinking her glass against his. "And to the man who has supported every crazy idea I've had for the past 15 years, even when everyone else said I was out of my mind." As they sipped their champagne, Porter approached their table again, his manner now exceedingly deferential. "Ms. Watson, Mr. Bennett, is everything to your satisfaction? The view is spectacular," Emily acknowledged. Though I must say the welcome was somewhat lacking. Porter's expression fell. "Please accept my most sincere apologies for the misunderstanding earlier. Had we known who you were? But that's precisely the problem, isn't it?" Emily interrupted, her voice gentle but firm. "The quality of service shouldn't depend on recognizing someone's name or status. Every guest deserves to be treated with respect." Porter's discomfort was palpable. "Of course, you're absolutely right. I assure you this isn't reflective of the Azure's standards." "Isn't it, though?" Michael asked, his PR expertise evident in the way he maintained a pleasant tone while delivering a pointed question. "I wonder how many others without recognizable names have been turned away at that hostess stand." "We have certain standards to maintain," Porter stammered. "Our clientele expects a particular atmosphere, and that atmosphere requires judging people based on their appearance rather than their reservation status." Emily's question was posed without rancor, a genuine inquiry rather than an accusation. Porter had no ready answer. After an uncomfortable pause, he offered, "Please allow us to comp your entire meal this evening as a small gesture of apology." "That won't be necessary," Emily replied. "We're happy to pay for our dinner. What would be more meaningful is a commitment to reviewing your policies about how guests are welcomed and assessed upon arrival." The manager nodded quickly. "Yes, of course. I'll speak with the owner immediately about implementing changes." After Porter had withdrawn, Michael leaned forward. "That was restrained. I half expected you to buy the restaurant and fire everyone on the spot." Emily laughed. "Tempting but not my style. Besides, hostile takeovers are so cliché. Her true. But the look on their faces might have been worth it." Michael grinned. "Speaking of which, you should see Camille at the hostess stand right now. She's pulled up your Forbes profile on her phone and looks like she's seen a ghost." Emily glanced discreetly toward the entrance, where indeed, Camille was staring at her phone in evident distress, her earlier poise completely abandoned. "I'd feel sorry for her if she hadn't been so condescending. She's probably calculating the odds of still having a job tomorrow," Michael observed. "The Azure's owner, Victor Chen, sits on Phoenix's board of directors, doesn't he?" "He does," Emily confirmed. "But I'm not going to say anything to him about this. Individual consequences aren't the point. It's the systemic problem that needs addressing." Michael's expression softened with admiration. "And that's why you're changing the world while the rest of us are just living in it." Always focused on the bigger picture, their server arrived with the first course, presenting it with elaborate ceremony. Throughout the meal, the staff's attentiveness bordered on obsequious, with Porter checking on them personally between each course. By the time dessert arrived, a delicate chocolate soufflé that wasn't on the menu but had been specially prepared at Porter's insistence, Emily found herself reflecting on the evening's events with a new perspective. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "tonight has been enlightening in a way I didn't expect." Michael raised an eyebrow. "I've been so focused on our technology, on making AI more intuitive, more responsive to human needs, but tonight reminded me that technology is only part of the equation." She set down her spoon. "The human element is still where most systems break down." "What are you thinking?" Michael asked, recognizing the look that had preceded some of Phoenix's most innovative pivots. "Tomorrow's board meeting isn't just about announcing the acquisition," Emily explained, her eyes bright with new purpose. "It's about unveiling a new direction for Phoenix. We've been developing AI to revolutionize healthcare, but what if we expanded our mission? What if we applied our technology to improve human interactions across all industries?" Michael leaned forward, intrigued. "Go on. An AI system that helps businesses identify and correct bias in customer interactions. Technology that provides real-time feedback on service quality based on actual customer experiences rather than superficial assessments. Training programs that help people recognize and overcome their unconscious prejudices." The ideas flowed freely as Emily's mind raced with possibilities. Phoenix could pioneer a whole new field of human-centered AI applications. From getting snubbed at a restaurant to launching a new business division, Michael marveled. "Only you could make that leap, Em." Emily smiled, her earlier humiliation transformed into creative energy. "Sometimes the best innovations come from moments of friction. This isn't about me or what happened tonight. It's about fundamentally rethinking how technology can make human interactions more equitable and respectful." As Michael signaled for the check, Emily noticed Camille hovering uncertainly near their table, clearly working up the courage to approach. After a moment's hesitation, the hostess stepped forward. "Ms. Watson," she began, her voice strained with evident discomfort. "I wanted to personally apologize for my behavior earlier. I had no idea who you were, and That's precisely the issue, isn't it? Emily interjected gently. You shouldn't need to know who someone is to treat them with dignity and respect. Camille flushed deeply. You're absolutely right. My behavior was inexcusable. Recognition isn't what matters. Emily continued, her tone thoughtful rather than accusatory. When I founded Phoenix Technologies, I made a conscious decision to stay out of the spotlight. I wanted our innovations to stand on their own merits, just as people should be valued for who they are rather than what they appear to be. Camille nodded, visibly chastened. I understand. And I want you to know that I've learned an important lesson tonight. Then something good has come from this evening? Emily replied with genuine warmth. We all make mistakes. It's what we learn from them that defines us. After settling the bill, leaving a generous tip despite the rocky start to their evening, Emily and Michael made their way toward the elevator. As they passed the hostess stand, a young woman who had been assisting Camille throughout the evening stepped forward. Ms. Watson, she said quietly, I just wanted to say that your work on adaptive AI interfaces has inspired my master's thesis at Berkeley. The way you've prioritized accessibility in your designs has changed the way I think about technology. Thank you. Emily's face lit up with genuine pleasure. That means more to me than you know. What's your focus area? Developing AI systems to help people with non-visible disabilities navigate social situations. The young woman replied, her initial nervousness giving way to enthusiasm. Your research on intuitive response patterns laid the groundwork for my project. That sounds fascinating, Emily said sincerely. Why offer internships at Phoenix's research division? If you're interested, have Camille give you my email address. I'd love to hear more about your work. The young woman's eyes widened. Really? That would be incredible! Thank you so much! As they stepped into the elevator, Michael gave Emily an admiring look. You just made her years. You know, she's doing important work, Emily replied simply. And we're always looking for fresh perspectives at Phoenix. Still, Michael said as the doors closed, it's moments like these when I wish more people knew the real Emily Watson. Not just the brilliant mind behind Phoenix Technologies, but the person who sees value where others don't bother to look. Emily smiled, leaning into his shoulder. I'm content with being known by the people who matter. And besides, staying relatively anonymous has its advantages. You get to see the world as it really is, not as it pretends to be for those with power and influence. As they rode down in comfortable silence, Emily's mind was already mapping out the new initiative she would propose at tomorrow's board meeting. A systematic approach to using AI for identifying and correcting biases in customer service interactions across industries. Tonight's uncomfortable experience was transforming, in real time, into something potentially revolutionary. The elevator doors opened to the lobby, where the night doorman greeted them with a genuine smile that asked nothing in return. Emily smiled back, appreciating the simple human connection that required no credentials, no status symbols, and no recognition of her accomplishments. Tomorrow, she would stand before Phoenix's board and shareholders to announce not just the acquisition that would cement the company's position at the forefront of healthcare AI, but also this new vision, a vision sparked by tonight's reminder that in a world increasingly mediated by technology, the quality of human interactions remained the ultimate measure of progress. Ready for tomorrow? Michael asked as they stepped out into the cool San Francisco night. Emily nodded, her expression serene but determined. More than ready. I think tonight was exactly the reminder I needed about why our work matters. Above them, the lights of the Azure continued to shine from the top of the Meridian Tower, a beacon of exclusivity and status. But Emily's gaze was already fixed on the horizon, where the real work of creating a more equitable world awaited, not just through technology, but through the fundamental reshaping of how humans recognized and valued one another. The Phoenix Technologies headquarters dominated the south of Market skyline, its distinctive architecture, a graceful synthesis of modern design and sustainable materials, reflecting the company's innovative ethos. The morning sun glinted off its curved glass facade as Emily made her way through the main entrance, nodding warmly to the security staff and maintenance workers. Unlike many CEOs who entered through private elevators or secluded entrances, Emily had always insisted on using the main lobby. It gave her daily insights into how the company functioned at every level, from the efficiency of the reception desk to the general mood of employees heading to their workstations. Good morning, Ms. Watson, called Jerome, the head of security, his smile genuine. Big day today, isn't it? Potentially life-changing, Emily agreed, returning his smile. How's your daughter doing with her college applications? Jerome's face lit up. She got into Stanford. The scholarship from the Phoenix Foundation is making it possible. I can't thank you enough for the employee education program. That's wonderful news. She's earned it with her hard work, Emily replied, genuinely delighted. Stanford's engineering program won't know what hit them. These brief, authentic interactions with employees at all levels were the heartbeat of Emily's leadership philosophy. She believed that a company's culture flowed from the top, and that genuine concern for people wasn't just good ethics, it was good business. The boardroom was already filling with executives and major shareholders when Emily arrived. The air hummed with anticipation. Rumors of the major acquisition had been circulating for weeks, sending Phoenix's stock climbing steadily higher. Victor Chen, the Azure's owner and a longtime Phoenix board member, approached Emily immediately, his expression unusually contrite. "Emily, I need to apologize for what happened at my restaurant last night," he began, his voice low. "Porter called me immediately afterward. I want you to know that kind of treatment doesn't reflect the values I espouse for any of my businesses." Emily nodded acknowledgement. It was enlightening, Victor. "And don't worry. I don't hold you personally responsible for every interaction in your establishments. Still, it's inexcusable," Victor insisted. "I've already scheduled comprehensive staff retraining, and both Porter and Camille will be meeting with me this afternoon to discuss significant changes to our welcoming procedures." "I appreciate that," Emily replied. "In fact, the experience sparked some interesting ideas I'll be sharing today. Sometimes our most uncomfortable moments lead to the most valuable insights." Victor looked relieved. "That's very gracious of you. I was worried this might affect our professional relationship. I've faced far worse than a snooty hostess in building this company," Emily assured him with a small smile. "It would take much more than that to disrupt my focus on what matters." As more board members and executives filed in, Emily made her way to the head of the table. Michael caught her eye from across the room, where he was briefing the communications team on the announcement strategy. He gave her a subtle thumbs up, and she responded with a confident nod. At precisely 9:00 a.m., Emily called the meeting to order. The room quieted immediately, all eyes turning to the woman whose vision had transformed a dorm room startup into a multi-billion-dollar enterprise at the forefront of AI innovation. "Good morning, everyone," she began, her voice clear and steady. "Today marks a pivotal moment in Phoenix Technologies' evolution. As you know, we've been in negotiations to acquire MedEye Solutions, the leader in diagnostic artificial intelligence systems. I'm pleased to announce that the deal has been finalized, effective immediately." A ripple of excitement moved through the room. Several board members exchanged satisfied glances. The acquisition had been strategically brilliant, securing Phoenix's position at the forefront of healthcare AI before their competitors could act. "This acquisition isn't just about market share or competitive advantage," Emily continued. "It's about fulfilling the promise at the heart of Phoenix's mission, using technology to improve human lives in meaningful, measurable ways. MedEye's diagnostic systems, combined with our adaptive interface technology, will revolutionize healthcare accessibility globally." She moved to the presentation screen, where data visualizations illustrated the potential impact: faster diagnosis times, reduced human error, and unprecedented accessibility for underserved populations. "By this time next year, our combined technologies will have reduced diagnostic waiting times by 78% in participating hospitals, potentially saving thousands of lives annually," Emily explained, her passion evident. "But this is only part of what I want to discuss today." She paused, scanning the faces around the table. "Last night, I had an experience that crystallized something I've been contemplating for some time. As Phoenix grows, we have an opportunity, and I believe a responsibility, to expand our vision beyond healthcare." Emily shared a brief, unvarnished account of her experience at the Azure, noting the immediate change in treatment once her association with Michael and subsequently her own identity became known. "This isn't about me," she emphasized. "It's about a fundamental flaw in human systems, the tendency to assess and assign value based on superficial judgments rather than inherent worth. And I believe Phoenix is uniquely positioned to address this problem." She revealed the new direction. Phoenix would establish a customer experience division, dedicated to developing AI systems that could identify and correct bias in service interactions across industries. "Imagine AI that provides real-time feedback to service professionals about unconscious biases in their interactions," Emily elaborated. "Training programs that use virtual reality to help people experience what it's like to be on the receiving end of prejudicial treatment. Systems that ensure consistency of service regardless of a customer's appearance, accent, or other surface characteristics." The board members listened with growing interest. James Davidson, one of the more conservative investors, raised his hand. "This sounds admirable, Emily, but what's the business case? How does this translate to revenue?" Emily had anticipated the question. "The business case is compelling. Companies lose billions annually due to poor customer experiences, with bias and discrimination being significant factors. Our system would offer measurable improvements in customer satisfaction, retention, and brand reputation. She directed their attention to the financial projections on screen. Based on our initial market analysis, we project first-year revenue of $300 million from this division alone, with 40% growth year-over-year for the first 5 years. That's impressive, Davidson acknowledged. But launching an entirely new division requires significant investment. With the MedEye acquisition already stretching our resources, I understand your concern, Emily replied. That's why I'm proposing a phased approach, beginning with industries where the ROI is most immediately apparent: hospitality, retail, and healthcare. Additionally, I've secured commitments from 3 major venture capital firms willing to fund the division's initial development in exchange for a small equity stake in this specific branch of operations. The discussion continued for nearly an hour, with board members raising questions and concerns that Emily addressed with the same thoughtful precision that had characterized her leadership from the beginning. By the meeting's end, the board had unanimously approved both the MedEye acquisition announcement and the formation of the new customer experience division. As the board members filed out to prepare for the press conference scheduled for noon, Michael approached Emily, his expression a mixture of pride and amusement. From restaurant rejection to revolutionizing customer experience in less than 24 hours, he said, shaking his head in admiration. You never cease to amaze me. Emily smiled, gathering her presentation materials. It wasn't just last night. This has been percolating for a while. The experience at the Azure simply crystallized the concept and gave it an emotional resonance that helped convey the vision. Still, Michael insisted, most people would have just been angry or embarrassed. You turned it into $1 billion opportunity that could genuinely change how people treat each other. He searched for the right word, that's quintessentially you. Their conversation was interrupted by Linda Park, Phoenix's chief technology officer and one of Emily's first hires 15 years ago. The team is ready for the press briefing whenever you are, she informed them. And Emily, I've been thinking about your customer experience initiative. What if we integrated facial recognition neutralizers into the system? Technology that specifically prevents service professionals from giving preferential treatment based on recognized VIP status. Emily's eyes lit up. That's brilliant, Linda. It would ensure the system promotes genuine equity rather than just replacing one form of bias with another. I'll start the R&D team on concept development this afternoon, Linda promised. After the press conference, of course. As Linda departed, Michael checked his watch. Speaking of which, we should head down to the briefing room. The acquisition news is already driving speculation online. Phoenix stock is up 20% just this morning. Emily nodded. But her mind was already racing ahead to the implementation challenges of the new initiative. We'll need to be careful with the customer experience announcement. It needs to be framed as an opportunity for businesses to improve, not as a punitive or judgmental system. Already ahead of you, Michael assured her. We're positioning it as excellence through equity, a way for companies to ensure their actual service quality matches their aspirational standards. The press materials emphasize how it benefits everyone, businesses, employees, and customers alike. As they made their way toward the elevator, employees stopped to offer congratulations on the acquisition news that had already begun circulating internally. Emily acknowledged each one personally, her genuine interest in their work and lives evident in the specific questions she asked and the details she remembered. In the elevator, Michael observed, you know, most people who only know you by reputation assume you must be some kind of tech-obsessed recluse hidden away in a lab somewhere. They have no idea how deeply people-centered your approach really is. Technology is ultimately about people. Emily replied as the elevator descended. The most elegant code in the world is meaningless if it doesn't improve human lives or solve real problems. That's always been the Phoenix philosophy. The pre-press briefing went smoothly, with Emily outlining the key points of the acquisition while the communications team distributed detailed materials about the financial and strategic implications. The announcement had been meticulously choreographed to emphasize the humanitarian benefits alongside the business advantages, reflecting Emily's long-standing insistence that profit and purpose could and should coexist. As noon approached, the Phoenix auditorium filled with journalists, industry analysts, and company employees. The acquisition of MedEye Solutions was major news in the tech world. Reporters from every major financial and technology publication had secured seats for the announcement. Behind the stage, Emily reviewed her notes one final time, though she rarely relied on them. Public speaking had never been her favorite aspect of leadership, but years of practice had made her a compelling, authentic presenter. Michael approached, straightening his tie. Packed house out there, he noted. TechCrunch, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, everyone's here. And I just got word that the CNBC Live feed is confirmed. Emily nodded, more focused on the content than the coverage. Any last-minute changes to be aware of? None. We're proceeding exactly as planned. Acquisition announcement first, then the introduction of the new customer experience division as part of our expanded vision. Michael hesitated, then added, "There is one thing you should know, though." Victor Chen mentioned that Camille Reynolds is in attendance. Emily looked up, surprised. The hostess from the Azure. Why would she be here? Apparently, Victor suggested she come. Something about wanting her to see the bigger picture. Michael's expression was skeptical. "I can have security escort her out if you'd prefer." Emily considered this for a moment, then shook her head. No, let her stay. It might be educational for her to see the full context of who she was so quick to dismiss. "Ever the teacher," Michael remarked with an affectionate smile. "Ready to change the world again, one small corner of it at least," Emily replied, smoothing an invisible wrinkle from her simple but elegant navy dress, the same one she'd worn to the Azure the previous night. A deliberate choice that few would notice, but that held significance for her. As they stepped onto the stage to enthusiastic applause, Emily scanned the audience briefly. She spotted Camille near the back, looking uncomfortable and out of place in her designer outfit among the tech industry crowd. Their eyes met for a brief moment, and Emily offered a small, acknowledging nod before turning her attention to the podium. "Good afternoon," she began, her voice clear and confident. "Today marks a significant milestone in Phoenix Technologies' journey. As a company founded on the belief that technology should serve humanity's highest needs, we've always sought opportunities to expand our positive impact on the world." Emily outlined the MedAI acquisition with precision, explaining how the combined technologies would transform healthcare delivery globally. She shared compelling case studies of lives saved through early AI, assisted diagnosis, and painted a vivid picture of a future where quality healthcare was accessible to all, regardless of location, economic status, or other barriers. The announcement was met with enthusiastic response. Phoenix's stock price ticking higher with each passing minute on the displays at the back of the auditorium. But it was the second part of Emily's presentation that truly captured the room's imagination. While today's acquisition represents a quantum leap forward in our healthcare initiatives, it's only part of what I want to share with you today, she continued, her passion evident. Phoenix Technologies has always been about more than just technological innovation. We're about human innovation, finding ways to use technology to help people connect more meaningfully, to overcome limitations, and to build a more equitable world. She paused, allowing the audience to absorb her words before continuing. "To that end, I'm announcing the formation of Phoenix's Customer Experience Division, dedicated to developing AI systems that identify and correct bias in service interactions across industries." Emily shared a version of her experience at the Azure, without naming the restaurant, as an illustration of how unconscious bias affected everyday interactions. She explained how Phoenix's new technologies would help businesses ensure that their actual service matched their stated values, benefiting companies and customers alike. Bias costs businesses billions annually in lost customers, negative reviews, and damaged reputations, she explained. "Our technology will provide real-time feedback and training, helping service professionals deliver consistently excellent experiences to every customer, regardless of appearance, accent, or other surface characteristics." The presentation concluded with the introduction of Dr. Maya Patel, a renowned expert in ethical AI applications, who would head the new division. As Emily and Maya outlined the initial focus industries and implementation timeline, the audience's energy was palpable. Journalists typed furiously on their laptops, while industry analysts whispered among themselves about the market implications. When the formal presentation ended, Emily opened the floor for questions. The first came from a technology reporter with the New York Times, Ms. Watson. "While the healthcare applications of the MedAI acquisition are clear, the customer experience initiative seems more abstract. Can you provide concrete examples of how this technology would actually function in real-world settings?" Emily nodded, appreciating the opportunity to clarify. "Imagine a system that analyzes patterns in service interactions, tone of voice, response time, courtesy extended, and correlates them with customer demographics. If the system detects that employees consistently spend less time with certain types of customers or use less respectful language, it provides that feedback privately to the employee and their manager, along with specific suggestions for improvement." She continued, warming to the topics. "Or consider a virtual reality training program that allows service professionals to literally experience what it feels like to be on the receiving end of biased treatment. Our early tests show that this kind of immersive experience creates lasting changes in behavior that traditional diversity training rarely achieves." The questions continued for nearly 30 minutes, ranging from technical inquiries about implementation to broader philosophical discussions about the ethics of using AI to monitor human interactions. Throughout, Emily answered with the thoughtful precision that had become her trademark, neither oversimplifying complex issues nor hiding behind technological jargon. As the press conference concluded to enthusiastic applause, Emily was approached by several journalists seeking one-on-one comments. She handled each interaction with genuine engagement, never glancing at her watch or showing signs of impatience even as her PR team tried to move her along to her next appointment. When the crowd had mostly dispersed, Emily noticed Camille still standing at the back of the auditorium, looking somewhat shell-shocked. After a moment's consideration, Emily made her way over to the hostess. "Thank you for coming," she said simply. Camille flushed with embarrassment. "Mr. Chen suggested it would be educational." She hesitated, then added, "I had no idea who you were last night." "Not that it should matter, as you pointed out." "It doesn't," Emily agreed, "but understanding context can be valuable. The woman you dismissed so readily at the restaurant is the same woman who just announced $1 billion acquisition. The difference isn't in who I am, it's in what you knew about me." Camille nodded slowly. "I've been thinking about that all day, about how many people I might have misjudged based on superficial impressions." "That self-awareness is a good start," Emily acknowledged. "The systems we're developing aren't about punishing people for unconscious biases. We all have them. They're about creating awareness and providing tools to help people align their actions with their better values, or mixed race." Chen mentioned there might be an opportunity for the Azure to participate in the early testing of your system. Camille said tentatively. Emily smiled. "Yes, so we're looking for partners across various service industries. If the Azure is interested, have Victor contact Dr. Patel's team directly." She paused, then added, "Change begins with recognizing the need for it. It seems you're already on that path." As Camille thanked her and turned to leave, Michael approached with Linda Park and several board members, all eager to discuss next steps for the newly announced initiatives. "The response has been overwhelming," Michael reported, showing Emily his tablet where social media reactions to the announcement were flooding in. "Phoenix stock is up 18% already, and the customer experience announcement is trending on Twitter." Emily nodded, pleased but already focused on implementation. "Linda, how quickly can we have a prototype of the bias detection system ready for beta testing? With the frameworks we've already developed for healthcare communications, we could have a basic version ready within 3 months," Linda replied. "The VR training component might take a bit longer to fine-tune. I want to prioritize the restaurant and hospitality versions," Emily decided. "That's where the need is most immediately apparent, and success there will open doors to other industries." Victor Chen, who had joined the group, nodded enthusiastically. "The Azure would be honored to serve as your first test site. After last night's unfortunate experience, I'm more convinced than ever that even establishments that pride themselves on service excellence have significant blind spots." "It's not about placing blame," Emily emphasized. "It's about creating systems that help people deliver consistently excellent service to everyone, regardless of appearances or assumptions." As the conversation turned to implementation details, Emily found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this moment. From the dorm room where she'd first coded the algorithms that would become Phoenix's foundation to this auditorium, where she'd just announced innovations that could transform how people treated one another. It had been a path marked by both extraordinary challenges and profound rewards. Her thoughts were interrupted by a notification on her phone. A text from her sister, Katie. "Just watched your announcement online. Mom would have been so proud. Changing healthcare and how people treat each other. You're living her values every day." Emily smiled at the message, feeling a rush of emotion. Their mother? A brilliant physician who had died of a misdiagnosed heart condition when Emily was in college, had indeed been the inspiration behind much of Phoenix's mission. She had often spoken about the two essential components of healing: medical expertise and human compassion. Today's announcements honored both aspects of that vision. "Everything all right?" Michael asked, noticing her momentary distraction. "Better than all right," Emily assured him, tucking her phone away. "Just remembering why we started all this in the first place." The afternoon dissolved into a whirlwind of follow-up meetings, interviews, and strategic sessions. By early evening, Emily was finally able to retreat to her office on the top floor of Phoenix headquarters, where floor-to-ceiling windows offered spectacular views of San Francisco Bay. Unlike the ostentatious executive suites of many tech CEOs, Emily's office was designed for functionality rather than intimidation. Comfortable seating arrangements encouraged collaboration, while digital displays showcased real-time data on Phoenix's global operations. The only personal touches were a few family photographs and her Stanford diploma, displayed not prominently but as quiet acknowledgments of her journey. Emily sank into her desk chair, allowing herself a moment to process the day's events. The acquisition had gone exactly as planned, but the customer experience initiative, born from last night's uncomfortable encounter, had taken on a life and momentum of its own. Already, her inbox was flooded with inquiries from companies interested in early adoption of the technology. A knock at her door preceded Michael's entrance. He carried 2 cups of tea, a tradition they'd maintained since their early days working together. "Chamomile," he said, placing 1 cup on her desk. "Figured you could use something calming after today's excitement." "Perfect, thank you." Emily smiled appreciatively, wrapping her hands around the warm cup. "Has the media coverage been what we expected?" "Better," Michael replied, settling into a chair across from her. "The acquisition is being hailed as a strategic masterstroke, but it's the customer experience initiative that's really captured imagination. We've had interview requests from every major business and technology publication, plus several mainstream news outlets." Emily nodded thoughtfully. "Select a diverse mix. I want to reach beyond the tech bubble with this message." "Already on it," Michael assured her. "The team is prioritizing outlets that reach service industry decision makers as well as the usual tech audience." They sipped their tea in comfortable silence for a moment before Michael added, "You know, it's ironic that after 15 years of deliberately staying out of the spotlight, you might become the face of this new movement for equitable service." Emily laughed softly. "That would be quite the plot twist, wouldn't it? The press-averse CEO becoming a public advocate." She shook her head. "But I think Dr. Patel will make a far more effective spokesperson. This isn't about me or what happened at the Azure. It's about creating systemic change." "Speaking of the Azure," Michael said, checking his phone, "Victor just texted. Apparently, Camille submitted her resignation after returning from our press conference." Emily frowned. "That wasn't my intention." "Did he accept it?" "No," Michael replied. "He's offered her the opportunity to lead the implementation of the bias detection system at the Azure instead. Said she had a unique perspective that would be valuable to the process." "That's surprisingly insightful of him," Emily acknowledged, "transforming her from part of the problem into part of the solution. He mentioned she was quite moved by your conversation after the press conference." Michael added, "Said it was the first time she'd really considered the impact of her snap judgments on others." Emily set down her teacup, her expression thoughtful. "You know, when I founded Phoenix, I was so focused on the technology, on creating systems that could learn and adapt faster than anything on the market. But over the years, I've come to realize that the most profound challenges aren't technological at all. They're human. And yet, so you've found ways to use technology to address those very human problems," Michael observed. "That's always been your gift, seeing the intersection of code and compassion." A notification appeared on Emily's computer screen. The first batch of data from the patient outcomes study they'd been conducting with several major hospitals. The preliminary results showed a 43% improvement in early diagnosis rates using Phoenix's AI systems. "Look at this," she said, turning the screen so Michael could see. 43%. That's thousands of lives potentially saved through earlier interventions. Michael studied the data, impressed. "And with the MedAI integration, those numbers will likely improve even further." "That's why we do this," Emily said quietly. "Not for stock prices or market share, but for real human impacts." The same principle applies to the customer experience initiative. It's not about punishing businesses for bias, it's about helping them see the people in front of them more clearly, without the filters of assumption or prejudice. From getting snubbed at a restaurant to potentially transforming service industries globally, Michael marveled. "Only you could make that leap, Em." Emily smiled, her thoughts already racing ahead to implementation challenges and possibilities. "We should establish a scholarship program alongside the new division," she decided. "Identify promising students from underrepresented backgrounds who are interested in AI ethics and service design. Build diversity into the foundation of this work. I'll have the foundation team draft a proposal." Michael agreed, making a note on his tablet. "Speaking of which, are we still on for the Phoenix Foundation Gala next month? After today's announcements, it's going to draw even more attention than usual." The Phoenix Foundation, established 5 years earlier, funded educational opportunities in technology for students from disadvantaged backgrounds. The annual gala was its primary fundraising event, drawing celebrities and tech luminaries alike. "Absolutely," Emily confirmed. "In fact, I'd like to announce the new scholarship program there. It's the perfect venue to emphasize that this work isn't just about technology, it's about creating opportunities for people who've traditionally been overlooked." Their conversation was interrupted by another notification. This one from Phoenix's internal communication system. Linda Park was requesting a virtual meeting to discuss an unexpected development with the customer experience technology. Emily accepted the call immediately, and Linda's face appeared on the main screen. The CTO looked excited, her usual composed demeanor energized with new ideas. "Emily, I hope I'm not interrupting. But I couldn't wait to share this," Linda began. "The team has been exploring potential applications for the bias detection technology, and we've discovered something remarkable. The same algorithms we're developing for service interactions could be applied to hiring and promotion decisions." Emily leaned forward, intrigued. "Go on." "We could create a system that analyzes patterns in hiring, advancement, and compensation across an organization, identifying where unconscious bias might be influencing decisions," Linda explained. "It wouldn't override human judgment, but it would flag potential issues for review and provide alternative perspectives." "That's brilliant, Linda," Emily responded, her mind already mapping the possibilities. Workplace equity is a natural extension of the customer experience work. The underlying principle is the same, ensuring people are valued for their actual contributions rather than superficial characteristics. "Exactly," Linda agreed enthusiastically. "And we already have most of the framework in place from our healthcare communication systems. So we just need to adapt it to this new context. How quickly could we develop a prototype?" Emily asked. "With dedicated resources, we could have something testable within 6 months," Linda estimated. "Sooner if we prioritize it alongside the customer service applications." Emily nodded decisively. "Make it a parallel priority. The potential impact is too significant to delay. We'll announce it as phase 2 of the initiative once we have solid testing data." After concluding the call with Linda, Emily turned to Michael, her expression animated with fresh purpose. "This is exactly why I founded Phoenix. Not just to create clever algorithms, but to develop technology that addresses fundamental human challenges, healthcare, equitable treatment, workplace fairness. These are the problems worth solving." Michael smiled, recognizing the familiar spark in her eyes that had fueled Phoenix's most transformative innovations. From restaurant rejection to revolutionizing workplace equity. Quite the productive 24 hours, even by your standards. Emily laughed, acknowledging the absurdity of how a potentially humiliating experience had catalyzed so much positive momentum. Sometimes our most uncomfortable moments are our most instructive. I should probably send Camille flowers to thank her for the inspiration. I'm not sure she'd appreciate the irony just yet," Michael replied with a grin. "Though Victor mentioned she's been devouring everything she can find about Phoenix and your work since the press conference. Apparently, she's having quite the paradigm shift." Emily nodded thoughtfully. "That's ultimately what all this is about, shifting paradigms. Helping people see beyond their initial assumptions to recognize the full humanity of those they encounter." She paused, then added, "In a way, the technology is just a tool to help people do what they already know they should. Treat others with dignity and respect regardless of appearances." As the evening deepened into night, Emily and Michael continued refining plans for the new initiatives, their collaborative rhythm honed by years of working together. By the time they finally left the office, the foundations had been laid for not just one, but 2 potentially transformative applications of Phoenix's technology. Standing in the now quiet lobby of Phoenix headquarters, Emily paused to look up at the wall where the company's mission statement was displayed. "Technology that serves humanity's highest needs and aspirations." "We're living up to that today," Michael observed, following her gaze. "And tomorrow, we'll try to do even better," Emily replied, her voice soft but determined. "That's the only standard that really matters." As they stepped out into the cool San Francisco night, the city lights reflecting off the bay in a tapestry of possibilities, Emily felt a profound sense of purpose. The company she had built, the technology she had pioneered, all of it was converging on this moment of potential transformation. From a dismissive hostess at an exclusive restaurant to a vision for more equitable human interactions across society, it was a journey that perfectly encapsulated Emily's approach to both business and life, finding opportunity in challenge, innovation in friction, and always focusing on the human impact of technological advancement. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and complexities, but tonight Emily allowed herself to simply appreciate the unexpected path that had led her here and the difference her work might make in countless lives never known to her. In the end, that unseen impact was the true measure of success, far more meaningful than recognition, accolades, or even the respect of a hostess at an exclusive restaurant. 6 months later, Emily stood in the back of the Azure's elegant dining room, observing rather than participating. As part of the Phoenix Invisible Experience program, she regularly visited businesses implementing their new system, experiencing their service as an ordinary customer would, sometimes in upscale establishments, sometimes in casual settings, but always incognito. Today she was dressed simply again in jeans and a light sweater, her hair pulled back in a casual ponytail. No makeup, no designer accessories. Just another customer making her way through the world. The Azure had been among the first establishments to fully implement Phoenix's customer experience system, with Camille Reynolds, now promoted to Customer Experience Manager, leading the transformations. The restaurant staff had undergone comprehensive training using Phoenix's VR empathy programs, and the bias detection AI provided real-time feedback during service interactions. "Welcome to the Azure," greeted a young host with genuine warmth. "Do you have a reservation with us this evening?" "No, I was hoping to have a drink at the bar," Emily replied, watching carefully for any reaction to her casual attire. "Of course, right this way," the host replied without hesitation, leading her to the bar area with the same courtesy that would have been extended to anyone. There was no subtle appraisal of her clothing, no silent judgment of her worth based on appearances. As Emily settled onto a bar stool, she noticed Camille moving through the dining room, speaking quietly with staff and checking in with guests. The transformation in her demeanor was remarkable. Gone was the superficial charm that had masked thinly veiled condescension. In its place was authentic engagement with every guest, regardless of their attire or perceived status. The bartender approached with a genuine smile. "Good evening. What can I get for you?" "Just sparkling water with lime, please," Emily requested. "I'm waiting for a friend." "Coming right up," he replied, preparing her drink with the same attentive care he showed to those ordering expensive cocktails nearby. As Emily sipped her water, she reflected on the changes that had unfolded since that night 6 months ago. The Phoenix Customer Experience Division had exceeded all projections, with implementation contracts in over 200 hospitality businesses and expanding rapidly into retail and healthcare settings. More significantly, early data showed measurable improvements in service consistency, customer satisfaction, and employee retention in participating establishments. The Workplace Equity application, now branded as Phoenix Fairview, had launched in beta with 20 partner companies, analyzing patterns in hiring, promotion, and compensation to identify potential bias. Already, several participating corporations had made significant changes to their advancement processes based on insights from the system. But perhaps most meaningful to Emily was the Phoenix Foundation's new scholarship program, which had already awarded fully funded technology education opportunities to over 100 students from underrepresented backgrounds. These young people would shape the next generation of AI development, bringing diverse perspectives to an industry that sorely needed them. Camille approached the bar, clipboard in hand, and froze momentarily when she recognized Emily. After a brief hesitation, she came over, her expression a mixture of surprise and genuine respect. "Ems Watson," she said quietly. "I didn't know you were visiting today." "That's rather the point of our invisible experience evaluations," Emily replied with a small smile. "Checking how things work when no one knows they're being observed?" Camille nodded thoughtfully. "And how are we doing from your perspective?" "Remarkably well," Emily acknowledged. "The change in atmosphere is palpable. Every guest I've observed has received the same quality of attention and respect. We still have the AI alerts occasionally," Camille admitted, "especially with new staff, but the real-time feedback helps them correct course immediately, and the pattern recognition has been incredibly valuable in our training programs." Emily nodded, pleased but not surprised. "The technology is just a tool. The real change comes from people like you who are committed to creating a truly equitable experience." Camille looked slightly embarrassed at the compliment. "I still think about that night, you know. How differently I treated you based on nothing but a superficial assessment. It fundamentally changed how I see my role here and how I see other people. That kind of self-awareness is far more powerful than any technology we could develop," Emily observed. Their conversation was interrupted as Camille's tablet alerted her to a new arrival at the reception desk. "I should get back to work," she said, then added with genuine warmth, "Thank you, not just for the system, but for seeing potential in me when I had shown you my worst self." As Camille returned to her duties, Emily's phone vibrated with a text from Michael. "How's the undercover boss routine going tonight?" She smiled, typing back, "Surprisingly well. Real change is happening here." His response came immediately. "All because you refused to let a bad experience remain just that." Classic Emily move, transforming personal friction into systemic improvement. Emily laughed softly, drawing curious glances from nearby patrons. Michael understood her in a way few others did, her deep-seated belief that technology's highest purpose was to help humans connect more authentically, to overcome limitations both external and self-imposed. As she prepared to leave, Emily observed one final interaction that confirmed the transformation. An elderly woman in simple, somewhat dated clothing entered the restaurant looking uncertain. Without hesitation, Camille greeted her with the same genuine warmth she would have shown to a celebrity or well-known tech executive, taking extra time to make her feel welcome and valued. The woman's face lit up with pleasure at being treated with such consideration, perhaps an unusual experience for someone whose appearance didn't signal wealth or status. In that simple human connection, Emily saw the real success of Phoenix's technology and mission not in profit margins or market share, but in helping people recognize and honor the inherent dignity in one another. Outside, the San Francisco fog was rolling in, softening the city's edges and muting its sounds. Emily paused on the sidewalk, looking up at the Azure's elegant facade. 6 months ago, she had been deemed unworthy of crossing that threshold based on superficial judgments. Today, that same space had been transformed into one where every guest was welcomed with equal dignity. It was a small change in the grand scheme of things, one restaurant, a few hundred guests each night, but multiplied across the hundreds of businesses now implementing Phoenix's systems, and the thousands more that would follow. It represented a meaningful shift in how people experienced the world and each other. Emily had never sought recognition or accolades for her work. From the beginning, she had deliberately chosen to let Phoenix's innovations stand on their own merits, just as she believed people should be valued for who they were rather than what they appeared to be. That philosophy had sometimes resulted in uncomfortable moments like her initial experience at the Azure, but it had also given her invaluable insights into the real world, insights that might have been inaccessible to someone immediately recognized and catered to because of their status. As she hailed a taxi to take her home, Emily reflected on the unexpected journey of the past 6 months. What had begun as a humiliating rejection had catalyzed innovations that were now transforming how businesses operated and how people treated one another. It was a powerful reminder that sometimes the most valuable growth came from moments of friction rather than comfort, from being underestimated rather than revered. The taxi pulled up, and as Emily settled into the back seat, the driver greeted her with a simple courtesy that asked nothing in return. Emily smiled, appreciating the authentic human connection. In a world increasingly mediated by technology, such moments of genuine engagement remained the ultimate measure of progress, and the true purpose behind every line of code she had ever written. "Where to?" the driver asked. "Home," Emily replied, looking out at the city she had helped transform in ways both visible and invisible. "I'm going home." The mist swirled around the taxi as it pulled away from the curb, merging into the flow of the city's life. Behind them, the Azure continued to shine from the top of the Meridian Tower, no longer just a beacon of exclusivity and status, but a testament to the possibility of change, one interaction, one recognition, one person at a time, and in offices and restaurants, retail shops and hospitals across the city and beyond. The invisible systems Emily had created continued their quiet work of helping people see one another more clearly, without the distorting filters of assumption and prejudice. It wasn't a perfect solution. No technology could completely overcome the complex biases of human nature, but it was a meaningful step toward a world where people were valued not for how they appeared, but for who they truly were. In the end, that was the legacy Emily Watson cared about most, not the billions her company had earned or the accolades the tech world had belatedly bestowed upon her, but the countless unseen moments when one human being truly saw another, freed from the limitations of superficial judgment. And in that recognition lay the greatest innovation of all. The technology of human connection, powered not by algorithms alone, but by the fundamental understanding that every person deserved to be seen, heard, and valued, regardless of the watch on their wrist or the labels in their clothes. The invisible CEO had created visibility for others, and in that simple transformation lay a revolution more profound than any line of code could ever express.